Ladies and gentlemen, 2025 Mazda 3 hatchback, premium package, front-wheel drive, the only way you can get a 6-speed manual in your Mazda 3. MSRP with destination right around $32,000, weighing in sub 3,100 pounds, lighter than you'd expect, and powered by a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated inline-4, making 191 horsepower, 186 pound-feet of torque. It's the same engine as the rest of Mazda's lineup, including my Mazda CX-50 Turbo Premium Plus, but of course naturally aspirated, no turbocharger on it. Now we all know that this is no hot hatch, but the question is, who is this for? Because it's not some vanilla, NPC mobile, but it's also not a hot hatch. It's somewhere in the middle. The first thing you're going to notice in this segment is that this has probably the best interior in class. With that premium package, you have soft touch everywhere, really great materials, really nice fit and finish. Piano gloss black looks brilliant right now because the car only has 600 miles. But with additional mileage and ownership, of course, that might change. Seats are nice and comfortable. I think they look good too. Cubby for your phone with wireless Qi charging. And you got that cliff of buttons. This is using Mazda's new interior design language, which is the same thing that's in my CX-50. I think it looks great. It looks super premium. It has the nice turn signal indicator sound that we all love. Power adjustable driver's seat, manual for the passenger. And we got an electronic parking brake. And we are turning traction off. Sub 200 horsepower. It's not quick, but when you're weighing sub 3,100 pounds, it's quicker than you'd expect. Of course, a large part of that weight savings over the regular Mazda 3 all-wheel drive is that it's front-wheel drive only. Snuck up to redline right there, right around 6,400 RPM. Very quiet engine. Not a lot of character to the engine, if I'm being honest. I think that is one of the limitations of Mazda's current lineup. None of the engines are as special as you might want. And here, this still feels tuned more for daily driving duty rather than canyon carving and pushing the car, meaning that it's tuned for more low and mid-range torque, which is great when you're driving around town, not so ideal when you're on a road like this. Brakes are more solid than I'd actually expect, considering what the car is. It has nice initial bite and firmness. And the steering, very similar to my Mazda CX-50 steering, which I love. Now, steering is different than the front end. They're related, but they're different things, right? My Mazda Miata ND3 has a better front end. The engine is behind the front axle, double wishbone front suspension. Over here, we have McPherson strut in the front and torsion beam in the rear. But the steering itself has a lot of feedback. And that's both with regards to texture of the road as well as load up mid-corner. Now what you really want to know is, how is the manual transmission? It is a good manual transmission. There are some cars out there like the Elantra N that has a very unpleasant to use manual transmission. Mazda knows inputs. The steering here is excellent. All the pedals are excellent, although the throttle, I feel like their philosophy is being a little bit more sluggish. Like, you need to blip the throttle harder to rev match than you may think, otherwise you're going to keep under revving it. There's no lag to the throttle. It's a naturally aspirated engine too. It's just not as sharp and immediate as you might expect. But the transmission here feels great. It's pretty light. Throws are on the longer side. But it's crisp, it's mechanical, there's no ambiguity. It feels premium. It feels like even the leather material here and the way that it actuates between each gate, it feels more expensive than it is. Not quite as mechanical and direct as my Mazda Miata shifter, which is expected because that thing is right above the transmission tunnel. It's not cable linkage, it's direct, and you feel that difference. Now that we're going uphill, the engine is definitely feeling a bit underpowered now. But yeah, really impressed by these brakes. Feeling great. I have been able to elicit a bit of understeer, which is not surprising, both on corner entry, well, primarily on corner entry actually, because of that McPherson strut front suspension. And with front wheel drive, you might expect that on corner exit too, but because the power is so low here, you're not really getting much understeer on corner exit, and you're also not really getting much torque steer, because again, the power is so low. Now, it's no secret, I am a big fan of what Mazda has been doing recently. Oh, thank you. What excellent etiquette. Appreciate that. And I think that they've put their money in the right places. That if you are a driving enthusiast that also wants a nice, comfortable place to be, because you're probably not 18 anymore and you care about things like comfort and NVH and such, Mazda is really knocking it out of the park. Now, this vehicle is far from perfect. This is not a hot hatch, and it's also not a luxury cruiser. The suspension is stiffly sprung enough where it still feels a little bit on the sportier side. It doesn't feel like an NPC mobile that's wallowy and boaty and slow to respond. You're feeling the road. It's on the softer side, but it's still sporty-ish. For this class of vehicle, the quality of the suspension and the dampers is probably what you'd expect. The rear end being torsion beam is going to be more the limiting factor. But again, the way Mazda has tuned this, you're not going to notice 90 to 95% of the time. Yeah, when you heel toe like that, you really got to blip the throttle. But if you want something that has a little bit of that flavor, let's say it's 75, 25, 70, 30, something like that, of daily driver focus versus fun focus, this is awesome, because the daily driver focus gives you things like the comfort, the incredible interior quality for the price, but it still has great dialed in inputs. It's still a fun vehicle to drive. Now, when you go to the canyons, the engine is the big thing that you feel is lacking, because as you ring it out, it kind of dies off. There's more mid-range torque, not really much top end. The noise and the character just is lacking. But that's not a terrible trade-off to make, I'd argue, especially at this price point. The other car would be the Civic Si, which I would say dials back a bit of that daily driverness, right? It's a little bit sportier, a little bit more engaging to drive. Also very lightweight, I believe lighter than this, and if I'm not mistaken, $1,000 or $2,000 cheaper as well. So that one may go, let's say, 50-50 between daily driver versus sportiness, and is going to be more engaging, but you do give up a bit of the interior comfort. It's still a very nice interior, but not quite as nice as this Mazda. The SI also has fantastic inputs. Now, if it was my money, and you guys know I love Mazda, I got a CX-50, I got a Miata. If it was my money, oh, people are being nice today. Thank you, sir. If it was my money, I would probably actually go auto. Not because there's anything wrong with this manual. It's actually great. If it was just me driving it, I would go manual. But because my girlfriend doesn't drive stick, or rather wouldn't want to drive stick for our daily driver vehicle, that is what I would consider auto. But let's say I teach her in my Miata and she starts enjoying it more, then yeah, I would actually swing for the manual. It's more just about the use case more than anything. It's a pleasant, fun to use manual transmission, great actuation to it. The clutch is natural, good enough feel. Throttle response is the only thing that's a little bit sluggish, but I'm sure that's something you can adjust to quite easily. I mean, what other car on the market gives you this level of practicality with the hatch, the reliability, the fun factor, and the interior quality? I think Mazda has done a great job carving out this niche for themselves. And I think for the right buyer, this is such a stupidly good value. Is it the most dynamic? Of course not. That's not what it's trying to be. It is compromised. Again, 75-25 or 70-30 daily driver to sporty fun. But if that's what you're looking for, then I do believe this is an excellent option. My friends, let me know what you think with a comment down below. If you want your car reviewed, visit us on jabalandcars.com. Fill out the form on the homepage. Much love, and I'll see you all in the next one.